Hello, this is National Chess Master All Rats. I'm giving a simultaneous at chess.com, and it's kind of disappointing today. I had a request for Friday morning Pacific time at 6 a.m. From one player, and he didn't show last week. And I left a note on his profile wall that he didn't come, he needs to come next time, and I offered it again, and he's still not here. So this is kind of early for me, so I'm not going to be offering this time again. You'll have to come at a different time. Okay? Pretty much goes for anybody. If you request a time, I will set it. But you need to show. Okay? Now, if you set me a time like 2 in the morning for me to be here, it's not going to cut it. But I'm sure we can work something on the weekends. Anyway, again, a disappointment. I had 2 other players that are on the list, and they chose to play other players and not play me, and didn't take my challenges or my chat requests. Then I've got a late arrival. Somebody just added to the list, and oh good, he just accepted. Okay, so I'll play that, and I got a two board simul. So let's look at what we've got here. Okay, so I'm playing this silly King's Indian attack, and okay. And, well, it's not silly. I'm getting distracted. The guy that just accepted thanks for accepting. He accepted my chat game. Okay. All right. So back to this game. Let me peek here and get a move in. Okay. Here I've played the same 9-10 moves I always do. And he has delayed h6. It didn't come. A lot of times they play up by now, and I've made an exchange. It still hasn't happened. Now he's played, and normally they're going to take back with the knight and apply some pressure on e4. But here he doesn't. He takes with the pawn, and it's my move. I'm going to come back to this in just a moment because it's my move over here. And let's think about this for a second. Okay, what he's done is he has just weakened the h6 square. Now, that's not going anywhere. I don't need to go attack it. Besides, I'll just defend it. I'd like to get an outpost on f5, and in order to do that, I need to take on d5 and have him take back with a pawn. And the way to force that to happen is for me to play knight h4 here. Now, he does not have to allow me to take on d5. Let's see, if I play knight h4, he should play d takes e4. But this happens, then I can, in some cases, get the knight into e3, and the knight can go over to g4. So I'm going to play knight h4 here and await developments. Okay. Okay, so this guy left. Left the chat. Okay. Now I just follow through the system here. I get somebody with a fairly high standard rating. Okay, which is good. Get some competition here. Everyone's competition. Because of this opening I play, it essentially allows black to achieve an equal game, and we don't care about that. We're just trying to find a system that white can rattle out the first 10 moves as I've just done without even thinking. And in here, in this case, 11 moves. Okay. So I've got the first 11 moves without even having to think. And now the position is very balanced, very level. And now we use f1 as a pivot point. So my next step is usually to put this rook on e1. Okay, that's the next step. Black hasn't done a huge challenge to the white system here, by trying to advance the pawns into c5 and d4. Some people do that. I've been finding some good ways to play against that. He's not putting pressure on e4. His bishop on b7 is not hitting the pawn on e4. That like it happens. I think it's happening. Could happen in the other game, or is it happening? Let's see. Yeah, see, the bishop is controlling e4 here from the side. Sometimes it can control it from b7. Sometimes it can be pressuring it from the h7 b1 diagonal. So, you know, but white doesn't have any kind of an advantage at all. It's an even game. Neither side has a weakness. It takes two weaknesses to win a game. You got to get one and then try to create another one. Then you've got to work them both. So it looks like it's just going to be a two-board simul. Not exactly what I wanted when one new person comes off the list. Okay, so here we've got an interesting imbalance. I can create a pawn imbalance right before, and I've done this before with e takes d5. I had this same pawn structure imbalance against an international master over the board last November. I should have won that game too. Just sad what I did. Just basically, but there's some differences in this game and that game. It's in the forums. If you look in the video lessons group forums, go back to about page 3, my games from November 30th, 2013. But here I can exchange on d5, and he can't take with the e pawn, but he has to take with the c pawn. Now I can go ahead and play an early d4. Now this creates a couple things. It creates a queenside minority attack for black. At the same time, white has a kingside pawn minority attack. I'm debating whether I want to do that. Okay, so e takes d5, c takes d5. Now in the other game, I delayed playing d4, and I kind of had to. There was some pin. I think the black queen was pressuring the white queen. I couldn't advance d4. Here I can get it right away, but I used the d4 square as a pivot point for my knight, and my knight was able to hop into b5 effectively because he had weakened that square with a5. So there's some similarities and some differences in the two games. I could also play e5 here, but that's not really good. e5, he needs to drop his bishop back to c7, and I can play d4, and you say, well, that everything's great. Well, then black has ready-made counterpunches at the white center with c5 and f6, and that's not exactly what I want to do. But if I take on d5 with my pawn, he needs to take back with the c pawn, then I play d4. I'm also restraining his e pawn, and further, because if he advances it, he'll end up with an isolated pawn on d4, and I'll get the d5, and I'll get the d4 square back. The alternative is I can delay taking on d5 and allow him to take on d5. Let's see, so rook a d1, he could take on e4. I take back on e4 with my pawn. And then he plays c5, and his bishop gets activated. So, with all that in mind, I think it's in my interest to take on d5, and then play d4. And I can always throw a knight into e5 and get ready to play f4. If he ever, let's see, if he takes with the knight, I take back with the pawn, and then he gets the c5 square for his bishop, but then I can kick that bishop out with b4. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do this, follow a set plan. Okay, so here he's moved, and he's not really threatening anything I should worry about, so I'm going to get the f5 square, whether we have a bishop trade or not. Okay, so the first step is accomplished here. Although I have to watch a couple of tactics, like for instance, bishop takes d5. If I play bishop takes, pawn takes on d5, I can't throw the knight in on d5 right away, or f5 right away, because he has knight f3 check. So I have to do something first, like kick that knight out with f4, or let's see, bishop Bishop takes d5, pawn, bishop takes d5. Pawn takes d5. See, here it comes. Okay, so I don't mind trading off this bishop here. I'm going to get the f5 square, but not yet. I have to cover things on f3 first. Otherwise, I just drop a rook. You know, knight check, knight takes e1. So this also serves the purpose that it will limit the scope of his bishop a little bit. It also closes down the d2 h6 diagonal, or c1 h6 diagonal. What other ways do I have to combat a potential knight f3 check? Well, I could play king g2. Then he might play queen f5 or queen d7, hitting f5. I think it's right to just kick that knight out of there and drop it in. Okay, so here he's moved. Now I play d4 and let him do his minority attack. Okay, because I'm certainly gonna do mine. So here, the game is taken on a minority type position. The minority attack. What black tries to do is advance a pawn to b4. If white takes it with his pawn on c3, white has an isolated d pawn. If white doesn't take it, black takes on c3. White takes back. If he takes back with a piece, the pawn on d4 is isolated. If he takes back with a pawn, the pawn on c3 is a backward pawn on the open file. Either one's a target. White's supposed to do the same thing. Advance his pawn on the other side. Advance his pawn to f5. If black takes it with his pawn on e6, black has an isolated d pawn. If black doesn't take it, white takes on e6 with his pawn. If black takes with a piece, the pawn on d5 is an isolated pawn. And if he takes with the pawn on e6 is a backward pawn on the open file. So here I decline the exchange and drop my knight into f5. Now I'm threatening a pawn with check for what it's worth. And he'll probably play bishop f8. My next step is to make sure that I keep a knight on f5, because it doesn't really have a good retreat. I'm kind of playing this a little blindly. I can play queen g2 next, hitting the pawn on d5, and maybe the queen can swing over to h3 if need be. Although I could run into potential pin, be tempoing a pawn at the moment, so I think I should be okay. So he should be playing bishop f8 here. Okay, so I'm not going to even... People want to play me, I'm not going to look on the list to see who's here and who's not here. They can send me a chat request if they really want to play. Okay, so he played that. I have a free pawn. Do I want the free pawn? So I have an interesting... Yeah, it's a free pawn. And it's with check. Knight takes king h7. Play f5. Get back. Yeah, just gonna take it. That's what I'm showing you his plan. Okay, so now he played knight f6. Okay, so now I'm able to do things in the minority attack. I can get it started. Knight e5 is the first step. Okay, so he put his king there. Now I have a fork. That's no good. He just trades rooks. Pawn f5, he plays rook takes. Although this can't be overly bad. Let's see. I don't want to play rook takes and improve his pawn structure. I could, let's see, rook takes, pawn takes. I could play d4. That gains the tempo on the knight on g6. Yeah, probably not any good. Let's see. I think I should just bring the knight back to f5. I like the fact that it controls a couple dark squares deep in his territory. Okay, so here, if I play f4, knight takes, pawn takes, his bishop gets very bad, but I no longer have an f5 pawn break. So I'm going to play knight to f3, go from there. Okay, so I want to get f4, f5 in, but he needs to get b5 and b4 in, so we're both a little removed from what we want to do strategically. Now he's attacking a rook. Okay, so the simplest thing to do is protect that rook and make sure that he doesn't have a trick. See, I was thinking of a trick he might have. Like if I put the queen on f2 to guard things, although I could, I'm looking at c5 for him, trying to open up that diagonal. Yeah, I like f2 a little better. If c4, I'll just play d4. He can play b4 then, but I don't think he's really getting that far with this. So queen f2 is a good move. Guards my rook and await developments. In other words, what are they going to do next? So, out of my list with about 140 names, only one name comes off. Endgame Master just joined the group, added friends request, and posted in the topic after the simul started. They wanted to play, and I took the game. So, you know, if you sign up on the spot, if you find me, you know, you're going to get a game. I've never refused anybody. I've accidentally missed somebody every now and then. Okay, so there's his objective to use that diagonal, but I just shut it down. And, you know, he can play b4, but that's fine. Where's he going next? Okay, so now he chooses to get on the c file. So now the step is I'm going to take on d7 and tempo his queen again with knight e5. So pieces are coming off here. Okay, what do you play? a5. He's trying to play b4. Okay, so I can force a lot of wood off here. Knight takes d6. Queen takes d6. f5. He needs to play rook takes. Rook takes. Now I'm on his knight. Where does his knight go? Back to e7. Let's see. I need to get this knight into play first. I want to improve my position before their exchange is made. Let's see. I could go to e3. The idea of going to g4. d2 plans to go to f3. And see, where did this knight come from? I always have trouble with when I pick up a piece and decide to move it. I've got to make sure I take it far away. Probably the safest thing is put it on top of the king, because if I'm not careful, I'll make a mouse slip. Well, you know what? I want the a file. If he's gonna play b4, I want the a. No, we're gonna trade rooks. I don't need it. Okay, so the question is, do I do knight e3 or knight d2? So how about knight e3? That just threatens his pawn on d5. and avoids a rook trade. Maybe I can pile up on that pawn on d5. Okay, so he took with the bishop. Now I take with the rook. Now I'm inviting him to play f6 and create a weakness in his king position. Okay, so he's moving fast. Yeah, we have an average of over 2 minutes a move. How about if I just start my minority attack now with f4, getting ready for f5, and wait and see what happens. Okay, f4. Okay, he guarded his pawn. I can pressure it again with queen g2 or queen f3. g2, the queen's protected. See, he has a potential sacrifice. Bishop takes f4, but I can't see that being any good. Pawn takes, knight takes, yeah, queen g7 mate. So queen g2 is the square to go to. And the hatches are battened down on e3. Well, wait a minute. Let's put the queen down. Okay, queen g2. I run into a problem. I can't take the pawn because after the queens are exchanged, my rook on e1 falls. So, what about this other idea of knight takes d6 and f5? Well, I can take with the rook. Knight takes d6. Rook takes d6. Knight f5. Knight f5. Rook back to e6. Let's see, queen g2. I'm not really threatening the pawn on d5, but he has to play a move. Let's see. The other idea is just play knight g4 here. The idea behind that is keep some pressure on f6. Then I'm planning knight takes d6, rook takes d6, rook takes e8 check, king takes, develop my rook to e1 with check, and it just seems to make some logical sense. Of course, I can also put queen g2 and then park my king on f1, and then I've got things covered. Queen g2, knight e7. I'm going to go for knight g4. I think it just makes sense. The pawn on d5 will stay weak. Don't have to try to win it right now. Knight g4. Sometimes, you want to win a weak pawn. Well, just let it sit. It's not going anywhere. Okay, so knight g4. Trying to open up and trade off some stuff on the open file. Okay, go from that. Okay, rook e6. Now, the objective is to play f5. I can do it now if I want. And if he takes, I've achieved the isolated pawn weakness that I've spoken about. If I don't push it now, he might play g6. And then I have to stop and play g4 first before I can play f5. So I think f5 directly is the proper move here. Yep, that's the move, f5. Okay, he traded. Now his knight or bishop on d6 is loose. We covered that. He's on my knight on f5. I'm not too worried about that. I think he's going to lose something though here. Rook takes e1 check, e8 check. If he takes with the king, knight takes f6 is check. If he takes with the queen, he drops his bishop on d6. Okay. So time-wise, he spent 17 minutes on the game, got 13 back. He spent 30 minutes on 26 moves. He's moving slow at times, but he's basically playing too quickly. I'm playing too quickly. Look at me. But the first 11 moves are easy, so I spent 15 minutes. I've made 15 moves in about, let's see, 20 minutes. So I'm going too quick too. But now his knight on, or bishop on d6 falls. And unless he can trap the knight, I can always throw it away. Desperado, we call it, for a pawn. Okay, now he's done what I've wanted him to do, created the weakness on the isolated pawn on d5. Okay. Or, yeah, so I can exchange on e6 just fine. Let's look at the alternatives. I can retreat the rook and allow him to play e5. That probably wouldn't be any good. I can take on e6 with my rook or my pawn. If I take with the pawn, he takes with the rook. Let's see. How do I want to do this? But he's definitely playing too quick. He's going off the increment. You know, I am too. But I understand the position. This has been a relatively easy position for me to play. I'm going to saddle him with one weakness, and it's just a question of how to proceed after this. Okay, he might be trying to get some activity on the E file. Let's see. He might get the E file out of this, but I've achieved my one objective. I'm going to get him a weak pawn on D5. So there's two ways to do it. Rook takes, he takes, I take, he takes with the queen. Now he's on the file. Let's see. So objectively, what I'd like to do is take him down to where I can trade the queens and the rooks and saddle him with a bad bishop in the ending. Okay, rook takes, pawn takes, queen d2. He'll play rook e8. Now I play king f1. And, oh, he has bishop b5 check. Okay, so king f2. Maybe I have to play king f2 first. Another idea is pawn takes, rook takes, bring the rook back to e1 of all places. Then he'll double rooks. Then I play king f2. And yeah, that makes sense. Let's see, pawn takes, rook takes, swing the rook back to e1. He plays his rook over to e8. I put my king on f2. Now my threat is rook takes, rook over here. Getting him off the, getting stuff off the board. See, if I take with the rook, rook takes, pawn takes, queen takes, he's on the file right away, and he's going to be on the file. King f2, rook e8, and I can't play rook e1 because his queen's crawling all over it. And the moment I put my queen on f2, he gets queen f5 check. So this is the way to do it. Take with the pawn. Okay, so now he's on my knight, or my knights, I should say. Okay, he didn't lose a piece, or did he? I think he did. f5. Okay, now here's the key move. Rook e1, of all things. Well, let's see. Let me drop this rook on his king. Rook e2 is another idea too. It answers rook e8 with rook e1. If he takes on e2, I take with the queen, he gets on the open file, puts his rook there, and then I do something with my queen. Interesting choice. The choice is here. Let's see. Okay, so while I'm sitting here calculating, let's look at the objective here. White has given black one weakness, a pawn on an isolated pawn on d5 that's also on the color of his bishop. So black would like to trade bishops, but even if that happens, the pawn on d5 is still a weakness. What I would like to do as white is maybe go into a bishop ending, which I certainly couldn't lose. My rook is loose at the moment. It's just a question, do I exchange, retreat it to e1 or e2? I don't think there's any merit in putting it on h5 and trying to conduct a kingside attack. He just gets too strong on the e file. Rook ae8, and he's threatening rook e2. You don't want to give your opponent a lot of activity. Rook e2 my idea would be then to follow up with rook ae1, but he could take on e2, queen takes e2, then rook e8, then my queen has to move off the file, and he gets doubled on it. So rook e1 makes sense. Rook e5 e1, he doubles. I think he would double. That's a natural move to play, and I play king f2, and what am I threatening? Of course, another thing to do is play rook takes e6, queen takes e6, and put my king on f2 right now. Then he plays rook e8, and then I play the queen to d2, and I give him the check on f5. And I play bishop f3, breaking the check, stepping into a pin. Let's see. Rook takes, queen takes, king king f2, rook e8, queen d2, queen f5 check, king there. You could also play queen h3 then, menacing h2. That could be a problem. Just trying to find the best way to go here. Let me look at the other game real quick. Was I winning a piece there? Or did he take? He took. Okay, so now I'll take his knight. Okay. Well, worst is I'm even here. I'm trying to find a way to play this to an advantage. I had to go through with f5 because otherwise he plays g6, and that's reasonable. We can let him do that. I didn't think long enough about it. One drawback is that when I do it, I'll have better development, and even though a lot of files might be open, maybe I'm better off. So it might have been more prudent to have just let him play g6 and go for the g4 f5 break. Because here he's got some compensation in that he's got control of the E file, but he's not going to keep it. Let's see. Rook e1, rook e8, king f2. I'm happy if he plays rook takes, rook takes. Yeah, I think this is the right move. Rook e1, rook e8, king f2. Now, I'm not really threatening anything. I'm not threatening rook takes because that puts his queen here. We're back in the same thing but as before. But how does he improve his position? Okay, so rook e1, rook e1, and we'll go from there. Okay, so now this should be a relatively easy win. I can simplify into a winning ending. Pawn takes. Okay, played that as expected. Now king f2. Okay, now I can play queen takes f6 and I have an easy win. If I don't, the queens stay on the board for a while and I've got to advance my pawns, so I think this will just be decisive. And now bring my king up, and there's nothing he can do. Okay, he's taking e2 away, but that's all right. I can do, let's see. His threat is to play rook e2 check. I can play rook takes, queen d2, then he gets queen e2 check in. He's also hanging, in some lines, he's hanging d5 here. Rook takes. He'll take with the queen. Bishop f3, rook takes, rook takes, rook takes, king takes. See, bishop f3 stops a lot of that. Bishop f3, I'll go with that. Okay. His king comes up, my king comes up. I force his king back and I collect his queenside pawns. He doesn't have a pawn breakthrough on the queenside. He could play b4 with the idea of f4 and a3, but I just stop it all with a3, and he has nothing. He did play b4, just as I was saying that. Okay, so only a 2-game simul. One name comes off the list. You know, everybody wants to play me, and I'm happy to play you, but you guys got to show up. Okay, what am I missing here? I didn't like this idea for him necessarily. It's giving me taking him off the file. Check, okay. Now let's see. Look at this other game. I'll come back here. He took. I have to take this. Okay, so if I play king f2, he might play queen h3. Then I can collect his pawn on d5 with check, giving me a pass pawn. He's trying to use f1. Let's see. I play bishop e2 and offer to go to king and pawn ending. That shouldn't be too bad for me, but I think I want better. Let me peek at this other game. I'll be down to 1 game here shortly. Okay, so now the moment he tries to get his king to b5, I play a4 and he has no entry points. If he plays a4 himself, he cuts off no entry points. I just basically start taking away for protection of that pawn on d5. Okay, so king f2, queen h3. Now he's threatening queen takes h2, and he's threatening queen f1. So I can stop and play bishop takes d5 check, and then I can play c4 and attack his bishop, and he can play queen takes h2 check. I drop the bishop back to d5. I've got a pass pawn off and running. I've gotten rid of his weakness, and I've traded it in for a pass pawn. Okay, this guy gave up. So game over. Yeah, I'm just had an unfortunate when he took on f6 with the pawn. That kind of just gave me some openings. Let's do a quick review of it and move on. Okay, you know, his game is fine here, just like anybody else, but here he needs to take with the knight, and that just allows me to work on an f5 square. And here he should probably take with the pawn, so that I can't take and weaken that f5 square. You know, he's still got a tough row to hoe with the weaknesses, but you know, I've got targets to work on. But now I've got the f5 square, and I have to watch the tactic on f3 first. And a free pawn was a free pawn, and the d5 pawn wasn't going anywhere. I finally decided, and this move allowed a combination, you know, deflecting. He couldn't take with the king or he gets forked. I was working on the weakness on f6 also, and now he found a way to get the knight back by forking my knights, but I have a fork too. And then the simplest way is just trade off the extra piece, bring the king up. Now I got to make sure he doesn't see here. If I'm not careful, he's going to play a4 and a3, and my king's close enough to stop it, but why worry about that stuff when you don't have to? So thanks for the game. Gonna close this one down and go on to the only remaining game. This will be one of the fastest simuls ever. I could probably just offer a draw and get it. Well, I got to get a check. That much is obvious. King f2, queen h3. I can't play king g1. I run into queen f1 mate. But I have other moves. Now I could play king d2 here. I could even play king d1. I kind of like king d1. My king is pretty safe there, and I'm planning queen g2, forming a battery. Well, king f2 is the natural move, but I don't think it's any good because of queen h3, so king d1 looks like the right move. If he plays queen e3, I can stop and collect the pawn on d5 with check. And then play my queen to d2. He gets a check on g1. My king comes up to c2. I should be safe. Okay, so king d1 it is. He doesn't have a trick with bishop a4. Queen e3 is about his most penetrating move, but that drops a pawn with check. Let's see, before I move the king, what if he plays bishop c4 to guard the pawn? If I play b3, now queen e3. Kind of interesting, huh? Let's see. King d1, bishop c4, b3. It can't be any worse than this. Queen d1, king d. What's this? Somebody's after a chat request. Is he on the list? Kind of late. You see. Yep, he's on the list. Well, maybe I could play him a shorter time control. Let's see, I accepted his chat. Where is he? It started 75 minutes ago. We could play a shorter time control, like 30. Oops. See what he says. I'm happy to play another game and get him off the list, but I can't play 90-30. I'll play 30-30 and... Okay, he accepts. This way I have more than one game. Okay, so... Challenge to a game. 30-30. Rated, I'm white. And we're off and running. Now you can't send one. I have... My challenge is closed. Okay. So, king d1, bishop c4, b3. There we go, my move. Okay, knight f3. So. King d1, queen e3. King d2 stops. King d2 may be better. It stops queen e3. King d2. It doesn't allow me to get the battery, though, of queen g2 to queen c2 to g2. Okay, so let's see. He moved. Now my move. Okay. I got to make up my mind which way to put the king here. King d1. Well, queen e3 doesn't bother me. I'll just take his pawn with check. But bishop c4 could become a nuisance. b3. Now queen e3. Now queen g2. He's got a queen check on d3. A king goes to c1. He's got a check again on e3. My king goes to b1. And my king can hide on a1. Or wait a minute. If I'm playing b3, I'm weakening c3. Yeah, this gets confusing. I can... Okay, so anyway... let's get this game off and running so that... Okay. See, the thing I like about king f2 is it stops queen e3, but then queen comes to h3. I get a pawn with check, and he's going to get the h-pawn with check, but I'm going to get a pass pawn. So my inclination is to prefer king f2 over that. King d1, bishop c4, b3, queen e3, bishop on my bishop, and if I play queen g2, I'm hanging, c3 is hanging. So let's see, king d2. I don't have the battery on for the direct queen c2 to g2, but the queen can get there a different route. I'm keeping his queen out. My queen can back up to d1 and head over to h1. And I think king d2 is the right move here. And I answer queen h3 with bishop takes check. And then I back my king up to c1. He gets a check on f1. My queen goes to d1 and he's out of check. So king d2. And he can't attack my bishop on f3 in any other way. So king d2 is the move. Okay, it's funny how I back into these things, just sort them out. Playing two-dimensional chess is a lot different than playing three-dimensional chess. By that I mean when you have one game and one game only in front of you. And here I'm making the added motion or added handicap of having to play more than one game. So when I'm sitting, I can get a board I can concentrate a little better. Now somehow my headphones are tangled up in my chair. I don't have my wireless ones right now because I lost the connector. I'm waiting for a new one to arrive. So I'm going to have to just... I've got these headphones off the... I'm going to take them off a second because they're tangled up. Let's see. Well, as long as he's moving, I'm going to move quick here too. Let's see. Definitely have to take these headphones off. Or maybe I don't. Let's see. Maybe it's tangled up this way. Yeah, it's just an illusion. I just thought it was tied up. Okay. Go through with the system. Follow through with the normal situation. Now here, good, he's actually taking his time now. That's what he needs to do because he's been moving way too quick. Here my objective, well, let's see. Back to this game, my objective is to transfer the queen to the back rank and pressure d5. And I've cut the entry squares with his queen off. Okay, now he's on b6. With his queen attacking b2, I could play queen b3, but I've never played that. I'm just going to stick with what I've been playing. Queen c2, and I need to take a walk in the second, stretch my legs. Video is 54 minutes. The simul is actually 82 minutes. Okay, he played king there, so now I have chances to penetrate with my queen. See, I've cut cut his queen off the board. Let's see. His queen can't penetrate into E3, E2, or E1. So I can activate my queen with queen B3 and threaten the bishop as well as threatening a check on B4. Not sure if it gets anywhere, but I'm just saying I can do that. I can put the queen on H7. That threatens a check on H8, followed by either a queen trade on G8 or my queen penetrating on the back rank. I can play queen G6, and if he gets crafty with queen H3, I can play bishop takes D5. Now he's threatening, I'm threatening a mate, but his queen gets loose. Queen takes H2 check, king C1, queen G1 check, king C2, queen F2 check, king B3. He's running out of checks. Bishop C4 check, king A3. I can't play bishop C4 check. My bishop's on D5. Queen G6. The problem with queen G6 is it doesn't threaten another check. Queen H7. Yeah, I'm just going to take a walk and think about this. Actually, with this, I'm on my laptop doing this, Simul. I can take the laptop with me, but I just don't want to trip and fall and break the laptop. I'm sure you can appreciate that. The klutz that I sometimes am. I will be back in about 2-3 minutes. Thanks. Okay, I'm back. I had to disconnect the headphones. It was creating feedback. You heard a little bit of that. Sorry about that. Yeah, in retrospect, I should have doubled the rooks on the E file. Let me go back to that position. I'll just bring it up. When I played F5, development's important. If he plays G6, I'm just going to get G4 in. I'm going to get F5 in. I rejected it simply because it's a mistake we sometimes make when we analyze the position. We throw up a brick wall. We say, "Oh, I can't do that. I'm weakening my king position." But in actuality, he would be weakening his king position too, because I'm going to get F5 in with a much stronger position, and I just didn't think long enough. If I'm playing a real tournament game with plenty of time, I'll uncork G4 without any doubt, because I know it's thematic. But then in Rook F1, he could play E6 or F6 anyway. But then I've achieved the objective of giving him the backward pawn on the open file, and it is a target. He might try to defend with stuff like F5 and just hunker down and defend E6, but regardless, I've given him a weakness, and that's the objective of the minority attack. Give him a backward pawn on the open file or an isolated D pawn. So it might have been probably was a better move to double rooks. It just develops the piece. Let him kick me out. Rook E1, F6, Rook E3, and Rook 5 E3, and let him defend E6, because I'm going to get Bishop H3 in, and But anyway, this is working out. Let's go to this move. So since I've got his queen penetration cut off, I can play Queen D1 here. The objective of that is to form a battery on H1, and I'm still protecting. I'll be protecting the bishop. If he puts his queen on F5, he's not threatening to come into B1 with his queen, because my queen covers that. So I'm thinking Queen D1 is the correct choice here. And then it gives me options to play Queen E1 as well. Maybe trade the queens and leave him with a bad pawn on D5. They don't have any entry squares for my king. Just also, if the queen gets to H1, he plays Bishop C6. I have a chance to play C4, taking advantage of a pin, and I may win the pawn on D5. So Queen D1 is the move here, and then we'll go from there. Okay, now I follow the system. I got to watch my time. Mainly because I agreed to a quick time, a shorter time control. See, I've wasted 10 minutes off my clock, 1/3 of my time. So I'm comfortable playing with 20 minutes or less on my clock, but I'd like to pump that back up closer to 25. But in doing so, I'm running out of the opening. So, I've played 10 of my first 11 moves. If he doesn't play H6, I guess my move is Rook E1, Rook Fe1. Okay, so I just sit here and wait, and go from there. Let's see. So I gained 1 rating point so far in the Simul. E6. Okay, now Rook E1. I have to make sure he doesn't have a trick on F2 square. I don't think he does. Okay, so Rook E1. By that I mean like stuff with Knight G4. I can cover all that just fine. I can play the Knight to F1. The Queen's covering F2. So I'm just keeping this board open in case he moves. it's possible that if king e7, queen e1, queen takes, king d6, king d2, it's possible he's holding that position because he only has one weakness. Let's see, he moved over here, so back over there. Let's see, what did he play? Oh no, he didn't move. Well, here I take the guy off. Okay, play queen c4, he's on my bishop. Now I go on his pawn with queen h1. Oh wait, there's a problem here. Wait, where is this queen coming from? Let's put it on e1. He's planning to play queen d3 check. Is that a problem? Queen h1, queen d3 check, king c1. We've been through this before. Okay, let me see if it's my move over here. I'll come back there. Okay, let's see. I don't want to run out of time in this game. Let's see. Knight f1 is thematic what I do, so I'll play that. Okay. All right, now queen g1 or queen h1, queen d3 check, king e1, c1, queen e3 check, king b1, bishop d3 check, king a1. Hiding my king in the corner. Of course, I can put my king on c1 right now. King c1 prepares queen h1, king c1, bishop c4, a3, bishop b3 of all things. I think king c1's the right move. What am I missing? Not sure if I'm missing anything. I keep him out of d3 with his queen, although he can go there anyway. I'll just trade queens, win his pawns. So he has queen check on g5, and my queen can go to d2. Yeah, it's king c1. Okay, I'm gonna watch my time here. Knight e3, thematic. Okay. Black should maybe try to create a pass pawn of his own, advance his kingside pawn majority. It's a comfortable position for white. He's not worse by any means whatsoever. Black is left with a weak pawn on d5 that is not going to go away. Okay, so now he's trying to get his queen out, or king out. So let's see. I can play a check and transfer my queen to e3. I like that. That covers squares. Queen check. Okay, now whose move is it here? His move. Hold the board open on this. Okay, that gives me the c4 square. My experience has been this is working out usually well for me. I'll take and play knight c4. I get a tempo on the queen. Okay. Now queen g1 or queen h1 ties his queen down. Queen e3 is the move here. Queen e3. Okay, so it's over here. He has to take still. One reason I could have given more time in this rather than 30-30, but I in effect took 2 hours off the time. Okay, well here I'll happily trade and I can't lose. Although I might want to check. Let's see, what if I check? Queen check, where's he going to put his king? d7. Nope, I play bishop g4 and win. So he has to play king e7. Okay, queen f4. I mean, I can trade the queen, no problem. Let me come over here and answer a move here. Okay, so now knight here, and I was wondering, can he play rook c8? Knight takes, rook takes, knight takes, knight takes. His rook's on the 7th rank, but I can also just move my knight and move my queen and break the pin, and everything will be hunky-dory. Okay, so hunky-dory meaning just fine. I gotta sneeze. I sneeze every time I make a video. I joke sometimes, I'm allergic to chess. Not hardly. Okay, so next thing I want to do is anchor that knight in on c4 with a4. Oh, there it goes. Okay. Now, queen f4 check. If he plays king d7, he's busted. Because bishop g4. If he plays king e7, I have a queen check of my own. Now, where does he go with his king? I suppose he puts his queen in the middle. And I trade queens and I win his d-pawn. Winning his a-pawn could be risky. His queen gets thrown loose. Let's see. Queen check. See, I'm not convinced I can win with queen takes, king takes. I don't have an entry square for my king. But d5 remains weak. He's going to be tied down to guarding that. Queen f4 check, king e7, queen c7 check. I could play bishop d7. And if I snatch a7, he has queen check on e1, king c2, queen f3, f2 check, and I'll lose my bishop. So I can't go winning pawns. Now I'll just take his queen and play the ending. We'll see how it goes. Okay. What's he doing? He's taking? Can he do that? Wait, let me put this rook down on E. His plan is to play B5, but nothing is guarding his queen, so I can pin him. Queen takes, B5, Queen A5. Okay, so now centralize the king. And here it is, Queen B5, and my knight runs. Okay. That's called a pin. Pin is the most common tactical motif used in chess. I can't think of one that's used more. It's not a pin to win, it's a pin to tie down. Okay, so now G6, that puts him on a light square. He's trying to take entry squares away. It's time to create them, so I'll play H4, putting my pawn on a light square, or dark square rather. Okay, now my knight's loose, so I've got to save it. And I'll save it with a threat. The threat is taking on B5. This stops Queen C2. Okay, so now I just bring my king up, and if he takes, I gotta get F4. Okay, this is a relatively easy position to play. F5. Let's see. Bishop H5. Let's see, what if he plays G4? Do I get my bishop trapped? Let's see, where'd this bishop come from? Let's put him on A2. Okay, bishop H4, G4. Who's sending me a chat now? I'm playing. No, I'm not going to accept your chat. Okay, I told you, do not send me chats in live request. You're going to get blocked again. Okay? Got somebody just... Always sends me a chat. I explain to him, when I'm in live chess, I'm working. I do not like to be disturbed when I'm working. What do I always tell you? I say, leave me a message. Okay? I'm going to have to block him again. Okay. So, I don't necessarily want to take on H4. I'm looking at bishop H5. Now he plays G4. Now, my bishop is shut in. Is it? Or is it? Let's see. Maybe it's not. Bishop G6. King F6. Bishop H7. So I get that bishop trap. That'd be a horrible way to lose this. Let's see. I don't know what to do here. Oh, I gotta look at this other game. I'll lose on time there. Okay, so now I get C4 back. So watch my time. It's 18 minutes of play time. Now I'm going to get my knight back on C4, and I'll be a piece ahead. Okay. Bishop H5, G4. Well, you know, I have King F4. King F6. Now my bishop is stuck. Has no move. If his king just stays there, He can wiggle waggle his bishop around. I think what I ought to try to do is redeploy this bishop. Let's put the bishop on d1. Try to attack from b3. Okay. Now knight c4. And I'm a piece ahead. Okay, so now you're doing that. That's fine. a3. I could play b3, but that restricts my own bishop. Let's play a3. I can't lose this. Can I win? That's the question. He's got one weakness. Okay. Okay, so now bishop a4 inviting b5. Get his pawns on light squares, that's all I can do. Try to run him out of pawn moves. Then maybe go back to that bishop h5 idea. Okay, knight there. Now this should be a routine win. Okay, I have a piece ahead. I've got an inactive bishop that I need to improve. My knight's not doing much. Let's just swing the knight around. Okay, he did play there. Now I'll bring the bishop back to d1. Invite him to play a4, fixing more of his pawns on light squares. Now he can't maneuver his bishop as much. Okay, so now maybe I'm going to get somewhere with bishop h5 and try to penetrate from the rear. If g4, king here, king f6, my bishop gets to e8. I think I'm fine here. Now we play bishop h5, invite him to play g4. Okay, now I've got the bishop going to e8. I'll tie your bishop down. I'm going to try to create some entry points on the king side eventually. Not sure how yet, but I'll find a way. Bishop c4. Okay. Bishop c6, king d6, bishop a8. Okay, let's see. Oh, I think he gave up. Yeah, white won. Okay, well, thanks for the game. Let's do a quick review on that. Close that one down. I played the first 10 moves and traded off the knight, and he went for the d4 push, which gave me c4, and I've discovered this works out fine for white. Usually I have a knight on c6 and I have to contend with a knight b4, but not in this case. But here he just went for a mistake, a mistaken tactical plan. He doesn't see the pin. You know, his idea is my queen backs up, he takes my knight, and I take his pawn, and he trades queens, and I've got a couple pawns on b2 and c4 that are on the open files, and he's got a pass pawn, and who knows what could happen. But he just loses loses a piece, and then that's the game. Well, thanks for playing. Glad you got your game in. It's one less I have to deal with. And now the question is, can I work out any kind of draw? He's got one weakness. Well, he's got two weaknesses now, but I don't have entry points. The two weaknesses being the pawns on D5 and B5. See, I'm trying to create some more entryways in the king side. An eventual G4 doesn't work. I don't have a way in with my king. Bishop C6, King D6, Bishop B7, King C7. I don't have an entry point with my king. Okay, so the question is, how can I try to upset the apple cart, or is it possible? Let's see. Not seeing a way to get progress here. Bishop C6, King D6, Bishop A. No, there's no way to make progress here. The game's a draw. The other idea is to try to transfer the bishop to D1 and play B3 at some point, giving up a pawn. Then my king gets to B2 and I take it, but he trades bishops, and at the same time I got to watch out that a connected pass, or he doesn't run a pawn. You know, got one weakness. Like I said, the purpose of minority attack is to create one weakness. You need a second one. And I could never get a second weakness, even though I do here. I don't have any entry points for my king. So, with that said, just a question of when I offer a draw, I guess. Even if I trade the bishops on E2, you know, there's no entry points, and he may even end up with a win because he can start creating them here. So I'm just going to take this pawn and maybe bring the bishop back to H5. Just play a couple moves. If he offers a draw, I'll take it. My goal here is put the bishop on F3 and tie his bishop down, but I'm not sure what good that does me, because his king is doing the job too. Oh, look, I can play bishop E2 now. Whatever that good that does me. Threatens a pawn. He can play bishop c4. And if I trade it, I could lose this. Bishop takes, b takes. Ouch. So bishop d1, is there anything in bishop b3 in trading that thing? Probably not. I just offer him a draw. You can have a draw if you want. Did I offer a draw? Yes, I did. Okay. Get this simul over. Yeah, don't have a second weakness to attack. Well, I do, but I don't have any entry points for my king. And, you know, trying to play b3 at some point and swing my king around to win that pawn. And, you know, he gets a dangerous pass pawn. Well, he's not taking the draw yet. Maybe he didn't notice. Or maybe he's away from his computer. Okay, Simul is now 2 hours old. Video is 1 hour and 33 minutes old. What's he doing? What am I missing? Okay, you had a draw if you wanted it. Now you don't. I think maybe you're going to lose. Maybe. Okay. I have no weaknesses. You do. Why didn't you take a draw? Draw declined. In-game Master 49 has declined a draw. You must not have seen the offer. Okay, so now we start working on your weaknesses. Now I have entry points for my king. So I take e6 away from your king. And okay. Bishop d7. Attacking the pawn from the side. Trying to force his king to move. Okay, now let's see. Probably have to lose the tempo with my bishop at some point. So bishop e8. Maybe he still has a draw, but he didn't take it. I get to play. I'm a pawn up. I'm not going to take it just yet. Okay. You know, you had your chance for a draw. It's not a draw now. Okay, king d6. Bishop b7. Now my king has penetrated a little bit. Is it enough? Let's see. Make sure I don't pitch that piece. King f5, king c7, bishop a8, king b7, or b8, bishop c6, and it gets out. Okay, so now I get my king into f6 for what it's worth. where do I want to go? A8 or... Let's see, where's my bishop? Let me park it on the king. That way I don't misplace it. Okay, I'm not on C6 yet. Okay, so bishop A8. My objective is to play either king E6, preferably, or king F6 if I have to. Okay, so bishop A8. Now my bishop gets out, and I get my king into E5, I believe. Maybe not. King C7, bishop E8, king D6. Okay, so at least I'm getting him to F6. That's a start. Okay, so now have I made any progress? His bishop is tied down to guarding B5. It has D3, E2, and F1 to move to. The next thing to do is try to run my king behind his pawns. So let's take E2. Let's see. Another thing is to bring my king back and yeah, let's take D7 away from his king, and then I'll play king F7 and try to come around laterally. Okay, so now I take D7 away, and my king is trying to run behind your pawns. I don't know if that's enough, but I'm trying it. Okay, so now king F7. The idea is to play king E8, and king C8, and king B7. Here he comes. The alternative is bring my king back and try and trade bishops. Don't know if this will work. We'll find out here soon enough. I'm trying to get my king to attack his pawn on B5. He's got two weaknesses, B5 and D5. I've got a pawn advantage, and this might be a win. His F4 was just a terrible move. Okay, now I'm trying to play king B7. Okay, somebody wants to be a friend. Okay, accept all friends' requests. Okay. What's your plan here? I'm showing you my plan here. I'm explaining on the video. And I have a backup plan. What's my plan here? To take advantage of your two weaknesses and win. That's my plan. Okay. So, king B8, king B7. I can play bishop D7. Play bishop D7 check right now. King b8, we'll try the lateral move. I think he's got it covered, though. I'm going to have to bring my king back around and offer a bishop trade. Let's see. Ooh, you let me in. You're letting me into a6. Although you get a discovered check, it's not going to be enough. My king will go to a5. Okay. I could be wrong, but we'll find out, huh? Okay, now, king a6, b4 check, king a5. Okay, so king a6. I don't fear the check. Now my next step will be to get my bishop to e8 and attack that pawn. If I win that pawn, game over. I don't know why he didn't take my draw, but he played a move which gave him losing chances. So, he did check. Now a4 is a weakness. And I have to take. I believe a4 is going to fall. He may have had a draw even after f4 with the right moves, but he was playing too quick. So, no disrespect meant, but you need to work on your endgame, Mr. Endgame Master 49. Hopefully this will motivate you to do that, okay? You have two weak pawns, d5 and e5. And I'm going to win that pawn. Bishop e2, and you can't stop bishop b5. And here it comes. And then d5 remains weak. Okay, let's attack d5. So, how am I 2 pawns up? He gave up a pawn on f4, that's right, okay. And I won a pawn, so now I'm planning to play c4. He must not have seen my draw offer. Well, it happens. I know I've offered draws and, I didn't see it, then they offer it right back. But then he played a move which gave him losing chances, so I wasn't going to take a draw. So my next move is c4. And I start advancing my kings and my pawns. Bishop b5 on his part's not good. I play bishop takes d5 check. Wow, 74 moves. We're both playing way too quick. Yeah, it seems every time I give a simul, there's always 2 or 3 that are here that either can't play or they're busy playing somebody else. But this ending is winning. He's not even forcing me to... I mean, let me rephrase that. Not force me to do anything. My rook pawn is of the right color. You know, if he could trade off one of my pawns, you know, his c pawn, like if I advance it and then sack his bishop for the other pawn, you know, that could theoretically be a draw, but my rook pawns are the wrong color, so the only other question was, instead of trying to bring my king around, could I have brought the king back and tried to trade his bishop? He was definitely defending it. Defending the position after he gave up the pawn. Hardly. Calls me a cheater. Mercy. He declined my draw offer and made a blunder with f4. You moved too fast and didn't try to defend. Number one reason people lose games is they move too fast. So I was analyzing this game using Stockfish. Well, you're admitting you're cheating. Go ahead, report me. I didn't cheat. So you are admitting you are cheating. You are using an engine. This is funny. You still are using it. Yeah, sore losers. Anyway, go ahead, report me. I don't care. I didn't cheat. Well, anyway. Oh. So he says he turns an engine on to analyze the game now, and he says all my moves are Stockfish DD's first choices. He said challenge Magnus Carlsen for world champion. You will win for sure. Hardly. Trolls. I mean, everybody I've played that's been rated standard over 1900 has ended up cheating themselves. You look at my history, there's a couple of them, at least one. I'm not going to talk to this troll. Anyway. You declined to draw. In fact, I've had 4 people banned for cheating me playing in these simuls. Look at my game history. Fact 2, there are others that haven't been banned. How come your moves are the first choices of engine? Huh. I don't know. I'm sitting there playing a simul. Look, pal. Looked like he left. That's a shame in your age. Oh, what did he do? He won by resignation. Sore loser. Didn't understand positional play such as minority attack, which I explained on video. I'm just gonna. I think it's funny. Here we've got somebody accusing me of cheating. Did I cheat? What do you think? Look at all my other simuls. Look at all the games where I'm winning a game and I end up butchering it into a draw or a loss. I just play chess. By your own admission, you cheated because you turned an engine on during play. Now here, all rats isn't a cheater, but our engine said he was playing suboptimal moves in a few spots. So, anyway. Just gonna have to block this guy. If somebody wants to chat, let's see what he says. Ha ha ha. This guy. I'm gonna block him soon. Okay. There's no. I give simuls in my group. He signed up to play. I had 2 other games going and made a video of all my thoughts, and they will be uploaded on YouTube. So trolling. Alright, anyway, I need to... I followed the group on my other account, somebody's saying. Whoops. Okay, I can't really repeat what this guy's saying. He'd gotten banned, not for cheating, for doing something else. Anyway, I'll run a test on an engine and see if I had better F5 may have been premature, and I explain why, but still he has one weakness, which I played for. Go right ahead. I'll post all your comments as well in public, so you will be laughed at. Plus, I have the video explaining all my thoughts. Whoops. On my YouTube channel. Join my video lessons group to get the playlists. Anyway, I think it's hysterical. When it uploads, and learn some basic middle and end game strategies which you obviously didn't know. You're supposed to play for before conducting your own minority attack. Stop trolling me. Fly here with $10,000 and play me live. Winner be prepared to lose. Now I need okay, end of discussion. Okay, I'm going to end this video. This guy's funny. You know. Okay, so thanks for watching this video. I didn't never expect to be accused of cheating by a sore loser who declined to draw, who moved too fast. Get lost, you're blocked. Okay, wonderful. I've been blocked before. I don't mind. Some people have blocked me by accident. There used to be a thing in live chess. If you clicked on somebody's name, you could accidentally auto-block somebody, and they corrected that. And I know a number of people. So anyway, this is kind of funny reading all this text. I'm definitely going to have to save this. And it's quite obvious. I know I didn't use an engine. You gave me a very easy game to play. You played right into the minority attack. What a turkey. I seem to run into problems when I take these late arrivals. One of the first simuls, a late arrival came in and joined, and he didn't get banned, but everyone told me he was cheating, and it's a shame that somebody like this, I'm not going to let somebody like this spoil it, but I'm gonna have to cut the additions off as much as I would like to, and maybe I can come up with something different. You know, I'm not whittling this list down as fast as I thought. But anyway, this guy is hysterical. I wish you could see the chat. I'm kind of reading it. He's accusing me of cheating. But anyway. All my moves are optimal moves. Well, Mermaider says no, they aren't. Well, since you admitted you turned on an engine during the game, you admit you cheated, and you will be reported, and I expect to see a cheater icon by your name soon. You brought this on yourself. I'm going to report this guy. Anyway, I'm going to stop the video now. I'm sure there'll be more entertaining stuff this guy says. And got to make sure you know, these trolls don't come back and challenge me, I'm just going to have to find a way around this. But hey, I beat you fair and square. You know it. You didn't take a draw. You played a move that could have lost. So anyway, thanks for watching.